recognized symbol of excellence for your entertainment.
In my book, the Beatles are the best thing that ever happened to music. It goes even deeper than that. You're not just a musical group, you're a part of us. We grew up with you.
Welcome to Machino Music Music, the show that puts some music in Machino music, with your host, me, Brett Strong. Today on Machino Music Music, it's a big one. It's Beatles album ranking. I want to hold your hand. Happy New Year, everybody. Beatles album ranking, that's what we're doing here today. Thought I want to start off the new year with something big, a big album ranking. That was a big spit I just did right there because I'm excited. The Beatles album ranking. Come on. Could say the greatest band that ever lived. I got something in my eye. What a way to start off this show. But yeah. But yeah, the Beatles, they're the greatest band that ever lived. The greatest band that ever happened. Changed music. So I wanted to do this one for a while. And we will have all the Beatles albums because last year or so I've been trying to get that Beatles discography going. So between my brother and I, got pretty much all the Beatles albums. Now I will say this is how I like these albums. You like them differently? That's perfectly okay. This was a hard ranking to do, especially when you start getting to like the latter part of the catalog, like the big albums. It could change every day. Just remember that. Ask me tomorrow, and my ranking could be completely different. It's the Beatles. Come on. I'm also wearing my Paul McCartney and Wings shirt instead of my Beatles shirt. I think my Beatles shirt shrunk, so that's why I'm wearing a Paul McCartney shirt. He was a Beatle, if you remember. So here we go. Let's get into this. Actually, the only album I don't have. Please Please Me from 1963. It's good. It's kind of it's like the first Beatles album. We're figuring it out. I love this album. It's one of my favorites. But you got to rank them somehow. And I thought I'd put this one at the bottom just because they haven't quite figured it out yet. A lot of covers on these early Beatles albums. They were a cover of Anna Go With Him by Arthur Alexander. That was Al Bundy's song.
Him.
Yeah. A classic episode of Married with Children. That was a song Al Bundy couldn't remember. It's Anna Go With Him, and it was the original Arthur Alexander. I think if he knew the Beatles version, and that was the one he was trying to make, maybe it would have been okay because, it's the Beatles. Also, I Saw Her Standing There is on this album. Classic early Beatles tune. Great tune. So yeah, Please Please Me, that's coming in for me at the bottom. Next I'm going with the Beatles, also from 1963. Starting to come together. You got All My Lovin'. Great song. Love All My Lovin'. Still doing a lot of covers. They do Please Mr. Postman. They do Roll Over Beethoven. A lot of Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry was one of those early influences. They also do Smokey Robinson. You Really Got a Hold on Me. Starting to figure it out here. But, it's like... This is also a classic album cover. When people think of the Beatles, they think of this album cover. That's what Kiss was doing a takeoff on their first album. The 4 disembodied heads of the lads from Liverpool. Yeah. Actually, you can see they're wearing turtlenecks, but they do look like they're just floating in space. It probably looked more like that when it first came out. What is this? This is so different. But yeah, with the Beatles, that's where that's ranking for me. Alright, next I'm going the Beatles for Sale. Again, another one. This is 1964. but they are still, still doing a lot of the cover tunes. Because the Beatles, they got to write their own songs. Lennon, McCartney, George Harrison, phenomenal songwriter, Ringo. And that's what we love about the Beatles. I mean, whenever has there been, since, or even before them, a group with all distinct personalities? They could all write songs, they could all play. That's what makes them such a great band. But still a lot of cover tunes on here. Still some good ones. But, it's kind of hard to rank these ones. I mean, you got a Chuck Berry cover, you got a Rock and Roll Music. 8 Days a Week is on here. Yeah. I don't know. Kind of hard to rank those ones because there's a lot of cover tunes. Next we got a soundtrack album. Hard Day's Night. This was the big one. This really kind of kicked everything off because it's the Beatles with the movie. I mean, here it's like started music videos. They were so groundbreaking, and this was the soundtrack album to that movie. Hard Day's Night, of course, a classic song. Should have known better. And I Love Her. Big tune. Can't Buy Me Love. Another big tune. Yeah. It says on here there's a Hard Day's Night mini documentary. Insert into computer to view. When did this come out? 2000. I don't think you can do that now. Because the computers don't have CD-ROM drives, and it won't work on anything else. That's probably on YouTube. I want to check that out. It says like these versions of these. All right, back to the ranking. Another soundtrack album. I didn't want to include this one, but I did. Because, usually I don't include soundtrack albums and everything, anything like a compilation. But I had to include the Yellow Submarine from 1969. I think, it just the songs, it's a lot of like songs from other albums, obviously, like Eleanor Rigby, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, With a Little Help from My Friends, all this other stuff. But the original songs on here, Yellow Submarine is such a fun song. I know Lennon McCartney wrote it, but I always associate that song with Ringo just because it just seems like a Ringo Starr kind of song. He sung it. And when I saw Ringo performing with his all-star band, that was one of the big tunes that he sung, so I always associate that with Ringo Starr. Hey Bulldog is great, considered an early heavy metal song. Awesome. Yeah, pretty good. Yellow Submarine. I love the art and everything on that. Alright, next we're going Magical Mystery Tour. Another soundtrack album. But there's also some fantastic tunes on here. The title track is great. Love that song. Fool on the Hill. Blue Jay Way. We have a Blue Jay Way here in Toronto because the Toronto Blue Jays got a street named after them when they won the back-to-back World Series. Hey, let's name the street. And it's also a Beatles song. I Am the Walrus. Great. Strawberry Fields Forever. Yeah, great tunes on here. Again, another compilation. This is another one I can insert into my computer to view this mini documentary, but that's probably just a disc, I know it's part of the same disc, but it doesn't work. It's lost media. But, yeah. Magical Mystery Tour, that's where that ranks for me. Alright, next I'm going Help from 1965. Title track is iconic. Title track is so good. Love that. Deep cuts. Beatles have great forgotten deep cuts. The Night Before. You've got to hide your love away. You're going to lose that girl. Ticket to Ride is on here. Great tune. Love Ticket to Ride. Act Naturally. You Like Me Too Much. I've Just Seen a Face. It's a hit. Great. Great. There's George wearing a cowboy hat. Doesn't really look like it fits his head. Actually, it's probably the dopiest I've ever seen George Harrison look. Forgot about that photo. Because he always looked cool. Looked the best with a mustache. Not so good with a cowboy hat. Okay, this is where it started to get hard. Okay? This is where it started to get really difficult. These are the classics. These are the albums. I was just going to keep it just to this, but then I thought, okay, I may as well rank the entire catalog because I have the entire catalog. This is where it got really, really hard, okay? So bear with me if these don't match up to how you would rank these. And again, like I said at the top, ask me tomorrow and this could completely change. But I'm going Let It Be, 1970. Considered the official final album by the Beatles. Across the Universe. Really, that song alone puts this one up higher for me. It's just such a great song. There's no other song like Across the Universe. I mean, who writes songs like that? I can't. There's been great songwriters since the Beatles, but a song like Across the Universe. What? How does one write a song like that? Amazing. Love it. Get Back is great. Long and Winding Road. Classics on here. There's also, this is another one, a little mini documentary I could put into my computer and watch. Picking my nose. But you know, if I want to learn about the story of Let It Be, I just watch the Peter Jackson documentary, which is fantastic. But yeah, that's where Let It Be goes for me. Next, I'm going 1965. Rubber Soul. Again, so many great tunes on here. Drive My Car, Norwegian Wood. First time George using... What the hell's in my eye? Okay. Nowhere Man. Great song. Michelle. That was a classic. In My Life. Such a great song. Pretty underrated Beatles song. I mean, why more people don't cover it? Ozzy Osbourne covered it because he said it was like one of the only Beatles songs that hasn't been done to death. Yeah, this album's great. I mean, I could flip-flop it with, with the Let It Be, but I don't know. It's so hard, but this is a great album. I'm okay today where I'm putting it. But now I got Abbey Road to contend with. 1969. Oh, okay. So many greats. Come Together. Something. George Harrison song, one of the greatest songs. Frank Sinatra said he thinks one of the greatest songs ever written. Most people would say it's one of the greatest songs ever written. Love it. Love Something. Maxwell Silverhammer. I mean, get another silly song. Who writes songs like that? It's so fun. Octopus's Garden. There's a Ringo tune for you. Here Comes the Sun. I mean, that alone should make this my number one. One of my favorite Beatles songs. I love Here Comes the Sun.
Here comes the sun!
Because Mean Mr. Mustard and silly talk. The Beatles could just do these like silly songs and also these really deep, beautiful songs. They were just able to just balance all this stuff. So groundbreaking. Yeah. Great. And the production on this. Great deep cuts, great hits. Yeah. Abbey Road, of course, the iconic album cover. People, when they visit London, have to walk the Abbey Road. Paul's wearing bare feet. Another reason why people thought Paul is dead. This is an imposture because he's wearing bare feet. And George is dressed like an undertaker. There you go. But yeah, Abbey Road. Okay. Again, okay, I had Abbey Road. Now I got to contend with Revolver. Sometimes I would say this is my favorite Beatles album, but it's in the number 3 spot for me. Taxman. Love Taxman. The great George Harrison tune. Eleanor Rigby on here. Here, There, and Everywhere. So good. Yellow Submarine's on here. That's why they're all on Yellow Submarine, the soundtrack. Good Day Sunshine. And Your Bird Can Sing, I think, is my favorite Beatles song. I love that song. So cool. So different. Got a great guitar solo on it. Dr. Robert. I Want to Tell You. Just so good. Perfect album, top to bottom. Why isn't it my number 1? I don't know. This is impossible. This is impossible. This is. I said the Ramones 70s album ranking was the hardest album ranking ever doing this show. I think this is taking it, people. This is really bad. I'm getting whiplash from my burps, cause okay. Okay, we're in the top 2, everybody, and my head's about to explode, cause this is okay. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, 1967. This is so good. The title track, so great. With the help of my friends, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Fixin' a Hole, love that song. So fun. I'm doing work on something, like sprucing something up. That song gets in my head. When I'm 64, so fun. Love that song. A Day in the Life, great. I mean, so many different parts to that song, so intricate, so well written. Oh man, there's just so many great songs on here. The reprise of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I'm going to say too, I'm talking about this. Of course, iconic album cover. I do like that movie, that notoriously awful movie starring the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton. I like that. Yes, I know it's awful, but it's... And I'm not somebody who believes in so bad it's good. It's just, the music is fun. And also, I mean, yeah, it's pretty bad, some of the versions of it. But like Steve Martin, like 70s Steve Martin, singing Maxwell Silverhammer, like 70s Steve Martin. I don't know. It's so goofy and so silly. Gotta have fun with it. Aerosmith doing Come Together. And then everybody at the end doing Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. You got everybody in there. You got Robert Palmer in there. Crazy. But, I dig that movie. I know it's awful, but, just shut it off. Just enjoy it for what it's in. Just enjoy the music. And I think that's why I like it. I do like the music. And like seeing all these big stars singing the songs of the Beatles. So yeah, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. But what is my number 1? Kind of always was. I mean, this was... When I put this together, I always say the White Album is my favorite Beatles album. And I think I'm okay with this. Because, I just said Revolver could be my number 1. Because I think it's a perfect album. But I think why the White Album, I think, for me, is my number 1. And I think if you ask me tomorrow, I might still say the White Album. And we'll kind of always go to this one as, maybe just as a... if I was under the gun, okay? If you tied me to a chair and threatened me with violence, I would still say the White Album. Double album. It's got so much variety. It's got silly songs. It's got deep songs. It's got just so much on it. And the production is great. It's got songs that are considered proto genres, like Helter Skelter. People will say that is the first true heavy metal song. Then you got sort of silly songs, at least like on the surface, like everybody's got something to hide except me and my monkey. Happiness is a warm gun. These like strange song titles, but they're like really great tunes. Continuing story of Bungalow Bill, one of my favorite Beatles songs. It's just so silly, but it's a great song, great, well-constructed tune. Obla Di Obla Da. Well, my guitar gently weeps, George Harrison. So good. I mean, really, there's so much on here, so much variety. And like I said, I think that's why it usually will be my favorite Beatles album, no matter what. Also called just the self-titled, but we all call it the White Album, because the cover is white. But there you go, as best as I could do. You saw me in real time, about to lose my mind trying to figure this out. I thought I got this all figured out. I mean, here's a ranking right here, written in red pen, and I thought it was okay, but I started struggling. I started sweating. Like, once I started getting to Abbey Road. And there's a few others. I mean, oh, gee. So yeah, there you go. Beatles album ranking. Did the best I could. There will never be another band like the Beatles. And I'm happy I finally did a Beatles album ranking. And again, I should say, if you like these albums differently, as much as I struggled, this is how I like these albums. If you like them differently, and you struggle as much as I did, if you're a Beatles fan, I hope you enjoyed this. That's it for this week. Until we meet again, this is Brett Strong saying good journey.